welcome to today's class. We are going to do a stretchy, flowing class, combining it with some deep core activation, which I'm going to call the 3-in-1 deep core activation. Here we go. Let's get going with our hands and our feet to start with. So I'm just doing some nice tarantulas, sea anemones. At the same time as I'm doing that, I'm just rolling through my feet a little bit. Maybe circling the wrists around, rolling around on the toes, changing direction. I'm bending my big toes over. A little bit uncomfortable sometimes, but be quite relaxed with it. Just wait to get all sort of mobilised, maybe moving the shoulders around a little bit. Don't forget, you're in the comfort of your own home. You can do as much or as little of this as you like. There's no one to judge, no one to think that it doesn't look very nice. It's more about how it feels. You could almost close your eyes and see, oh, am I really moving my hands, my wrists, my ankles, my toes, my shoulders? That's weird, isn't it? Yeah. And enough of that one. Let's take some nice big shoulder rolls with the feet wide. Thinking about your breathing. So it's going to be a little bit of a contrast today with all these lovely big movements. Let's place the hands on the shoulders. All these big flowing movements where we're trying to move the body around as much as possible, getting into the edges and the corners of all the joints. And then the 3-in-1 deep core activation is going to be quite static and very subtle, so you won't really see much movement going on. I'm going to open out my arms and turn this into, let's turn this into butterfly arms. So I'm drawing like a figure of 8, turning the palms. As I'm doing that, just realised on the monitor I'm rolling my knees in, but that's fine, because I'm focusing on tucking the pelvis under, rounding the back, pushing the rib cage back, moving in the shoulders with my arms, just making that a little bit bigger there. Great, let's have the legs nice and wide. Let's pop the hands on the rib cage, keeping the ribs fairly still, mobilising, circling the hips around. Watch that breathing, check that the shoulders are nice and relaxed, knees are soft, both directions, maybe 4 times. Great, let's come onto the feet and knees together, circling the knees around. I always think of this as knee circles, and I write it on my list as knee circles, but actually it's much more about the feet and ankles, and just driving that weight through your feet, going to the balls of the feet, the heels, the outside edge, the inside edge. And the reason I've got my fingertips touching my knees is to stick my bottom out, keep my back in its natural curves. So we've got that nice neutral spine as opposed to collapsing. And I'm not putting any pressure on my knees either. Again, change of direction 4 times if you can. Breathing smoothly, being conscious that you're not holding your breath, especially if things are feeling a little bit stiff or a little bit tight. Let's take a big arm circle and another arm circle. We're stretching the arm across and trying to get a bit of a stretch in that side seam of the back. Going the opposite way to how I would normally go. And in fact, let's take this arm across and let's bring the other one up and over to follow it. And step to the side and place your hands, both hands on the side seam of your legs. And then reaching, stepping up and over, reaching, stepping up and over. So there's quite a lot of movement going on now. Big breath in as you go up and over. And a breath out, when you get to the other side. So feet and knees are pretty much staying facing forwards. Brilliant. And one more for luck. Whereas my upper body, sorry, I didn't actually finish that sentence, did I? The upper body is turning towards the side. Let's take our chest and back lift. I'm going to face the side. Feet are shoulder width apart. Chest lift to start with. Maybe pop the hands on the legs. Relax and unravel all the way down. The head finishes off the movement. Keeping the hands on the legs if you want to. Rounding the back to come up. It's a back lift to come up. It does what it says on the tin. It's a chest lift. This time I'm going to go all the way down, followed by a back lift. Chest lift. This time I'm going to cross my arms over, touching my ankles. Keep my arms crossed over. As I come up, it's like I'm taking my jumper off. Hands go over the head, lifting that chest to go again. Pop the other arm in front if you can. Notice what I'm doing from the side with my pelvis as I come up. Strongly pulling my belly button in, really scooping that tummy, almost pushing the pubic bone forwards. Arms are going up over the back. I'm trying to open up the upper back. And then I'm already there to stay looking up, arch the back. One more time, I think, if that was 3. Let's do one more for luck. Maybe we did 5. Hopefully we did 4. Rolling all the way up to really warm up that spine. Perfect. Let's take the legs nice and wide. In steps are parallel. Pull your leggings up. Just the clothing. I'm going to hinge forwards from my hips. In fact, I'm going to pop the hands on the shoulders. I'm going to pop hands on shoulders initially. So feet are wide, insteps are parallel, no turn out here. Elbows are level with my shoulders because I'm being very conscious of the nice straight line across my chest, not letting this happen. If those elbows are dropping down, you're creating a curve across your collarbone. Keep it nice and parallel to the floor in a straight line, as if there's a scaffolding pole there. I'm pitching forwards, so I'm going to go sideways. I'm only pitching forwards as far as I can, maintaining the neutral curves in the lower back, in the neck, until I feel that biting point on my hamstrings. That's the bit we're doing. If you find yourself stopping here because it's already stretching enough, perfect, stay there. Try not to overcompensate with that upper body. If anything, you want to tilt your pelvis a little bit more to tweak it. Pitch that weight forwards onto the balls of the feet, and then we're coming up. Great job. We're going to take a nice deep squat. So same sort of position as you were just in, with your maybe a little bit tiny bit in. Toes are going out to the corners. 2 minutes to 2 minutes past the hour. We're sending the hips back. It's our hip hinge, but then we're bending the knees. Knees are going over the toes. From the front, I would be looking for perfect symmetry. Hopefully I've got that. Feel like I'm shifting over to one, there we go, the one side a tiny bit more than the other. I've done my training at the beach this morning at 6:15. So my body's a little bit weary, which might be quite interesting when we come to the stronger stuff. Good. Let's carry on with these. Maybe not quite so deep. So we're initially using it as a warming up movement, those nice deep squats. But what I'd like to try and do now is as you're going down into the squat, push your feet out. Push your feet out on the mat. Make sure your knees are going over your toes. You should feel a bit more of an activation on the outside hips and buttocks. As you straighten the legs, draw your legs in. In fact, let's do that on its own first of all. So just standing in neutral, pushing the feet out. You won't really see anything, but I can feel an activation around here. around the gluteus medius, and then relaxing. I've relaxed my legs completely. Now I'm drawing my legs in. Now I can feel a very strong connection inside thighs, all the way drawing up. It feels like it's coming up from my ankle all the way up the inside seam of my leggings to my pubic bone. That's really quite strong. And then relaxing. I'm not doing anything, I'm not going either way at the moment. Pushing out. The shape of my feet on the floor, the contact of the feet on the floor doesn't change. Relaxing, drawing in. And relaxing. Great, let's add that to the deep squat. So we're sending the bottom back, pushing the feet out, drawing the feet in as you come up. So this is hard work all the way. Every part of the movement, I'm working really quite hard. Pushing the legs out, the feet out, drawing the feet in towards each other. You might notice a little bit of there's a very tiny little bit of a ruck up on my mat there. But other than that, probably won't notice much difference, but I can really feel that activation. So connecting with those inside thighs is one of the things that we're going to be working on. Let's look at another one. Let's look at the other two parts of the 3-in-1 deep core activation. I'm going to come a little bit closer to the camera and I'm going to turn sideways. So my pelvis is in neutral. Pubic bone, hip bones are on the same plane. I'm standing in good posture. I've got the natural curve of my lower back. I'm just going to put my hand on my tummy. I'm going to let my tummy relax a little bit. So my hand has pushed forwards a little bit. I've let my tummy relax. Normally I hold tension there quite naturally, especially when I'm filming, obviously. So I'm going to let my tummy relax. And all I want you to do from here is pull the skin away or the clothing away from the palm of that hand. Draw the belly, the lower belly between pubic bone and belly button. Draw that lower belly away from the palm of your hand. If I just keep my other arm out of the way a little bit. So there hasn't been any change in my pelvis. Quite often when we do this movement, and also when we activate pelvic floor, there's a tuck of the pelvis. This is very different. I'm doing the same thing here. I'm pulling my lower belly towards my spine, but I'm tilting the bones of the pelvis, the pelvic girdle. I'm tilting that pelvic bowl, it's sometimes called. Not using my buttocks at all, but this would be our pelvic tilt. So you can quite clearly see. I have to bend my knees to do that one as well. I'm keeping my legs straight now. I'm drawing the belly button back, the lower belly back towards the spine, but my pelvis isn't changing at all. Just getting a little bit of a gap there if I left the hand where it was. Same thing when you do your pelvic floor. The difference with pelvic floor, and you can really notice it when you're standing. I'm going to bring my feet together actually. So when we're lifting the pelvic floor in standing or sitting, we're lifting it up towards our head. When we're lying down on the backs, this isn't as easy to visualize. The difference now is that I want you to think about this movement as a vertical movement. So the last movement was a horizontal movement when we're standing. This is now becomes, the pelvic floor activation becomes a vertical movement, and it's like I'm tying up a drawstring bag. And I'm lifting it up inside my body, parallel to the spine, up towards my head. And when I'm holding it at its highest point, it's like the top of the bag, the drawstring bag, is really nice and tight. When I relax it, that just releases. You shouldn't really see any difference in my body as I'm standing. But it's a different feeling, it's a different direction. We're using slightly different muscles. So gathering up that pelvic floor to the last one. This is vertical. The last one was horizontal. Horizontal, that belly pulling back. Great, and then we're going to combine that with those inside thighs as well a little bit later. Okay, let's come back to our shoelace lunge. So standing sideways, alternating that quite narrow hip hinge. So we're sending the, let's just do that first of all, actually sending the hips back on quite a nice flowing movement, hinging at the hip, keeping the spine in its natural curves. My feet are hip width apart, sending the hips back. And then I'm going to send my hips back and step back at the same time, and then come upright. Swapping to the other side, send my hips back and step back. And then this becomes, go into it quite quickly, you're doing your shoelaces up. You take the leg back, you hinge at the hip, you try and keep your spine pretty much in its natural curves. So that knee, that back knee goes down towards the floor and coming up. Alternating legs if you can. Let's do another 4 of these. Sending the hips back, coming down, I'm letting that back knee just brush the floor. Hinging at the hip. 2 more, I think. And there we go, coming up to stand. Fantastic. Let's continue with our stretches. Let's go really nice and wide now. Actually, no, I don't want to. I want to do some rotation first of all. Let's have the feet parallel again. Hinging forwards from the hips. And then bring your hands to be palms together. Fingertips touching the floor if you can, but don't worry if you don't. You can just come up a little bit more in the back. And then just bend one knee, straighten that leg, bend the other knee, straighten that leg. Hopefully you can see in the monitor, my shoulders are staying fairly square, my hips are dropping and tilting towards that bent leg. Then we're going to add to that, bend one knee, keep the other leg nice and straight, open up the same side, same arm as the straight leg, so now my shoulders hopefully have become vertical. Doing all my verticals and horizontals today. Drop the pelvis down, open up. So this is our nice rotation, alternating sides. You don't have to have fingertips touching the floor, you could be a little bit higher. Watch that that bent knee doesn't roll in. Keep it over your toes. Try and open up the chest, turn your head, look up to the ceiling so that you get that lovely straight line from hand to hand. Relaxing in the middle, bend both knees and then roll up. Wonderful. We are going to come into our side-to-side stretches. So I'm going really nice and wide with the feet, taking my toes out to the corners and just transferring the weight from side to side, making sure the knees go over the toes. Keep the chest up to start with, and then let's gradually lower. Again, taking the hands to the floor for support. So when you're a little bit lower, if you wanted to work harder, bring those hands up, away from the floor. Otherwise, have the support of the hands there, pretty much underneath your shoulders, making sure the knees go over the toes. And let's just 4 times turn this into a nice warrior pose. So I'm going to turn all the way around to the short side of my mat. Both feet and knees and legs are facing forwards. This is my new front now. I'm going to keep that back leg straight. I'm going to open up that hip, put the back foot flat, and then lift my arms and open up and look towards that front arm. So as I drew that front arm back, that opened up the hip. I've got the leg at the front facing this way, the leg at the back is perpendicular to the leg at the front. It's tough on this hip. Let's bring that arm down again, roll through. Let's put the opposite hand down on the floor next to that foot and open up the chest. So there's that spine rotation that we did just now. Let's take a couple of lizards from here. That same arm goes forwards all the way up and back. Tuck the elbow in, tuck the shoulder in, rotating all around. Great job. Let's twiddle round to the other side. Move your feet, move your knees, your ankles, your hips. Start nice and square. So we're getting a stretch at the front of this back leg hip. I'm taking the arm back and at the same time I'm pushing that heel down, lifting my chest, opening out the arms so the chest is facing forwards, looking along that line for a nice warrior pose. Great, bring that arm back down again. Turn the hips to face the floor and the mat. Let's open up opposite arm, holding it there a moment. Have a sense of lifting out of the floor, trying to touch the ceiling, and then use that same arm to reach forwards, go up, tuck the elbow in, tuck the shoulder in. Rotation both ways in that thoracic spine. There's a little bit of a roll forwards over those toes, a little bit of a push back. Let's go one more time each side. Turning into your long hip stretch. Lift the chest. Maybe turn that back foot out from here. Come up to here. Maybe lift that front arm this time. Ooh, that's strong. Opposite hand down. Let's go straight into the lizards. Just two of them. Moving, flowing to the other side. Starting parallel, facing the short end of your mat. Coming up, lifting the chest and getting a wicked stretch at the front of this hip. But that is quite tight for me. Sweeping the arm back. That back heel is nice and flat and down. This front knee is above the ankle. We're there, and then we're going to lift that front arm up. Reaching back a little bit. Going into a bit of a yoga mode today. And then two lizards, reaching forwards. And again. And then from there, we're going to come down to all fours. Okay, coming onto a really good square box position, all fours position. Fingers and thumbs are spread, they're underneath your shoulders. Your knees are together. Have your knees together, have your feet slightly apart, but make sure that those knees are underneath your hips. So you've got a right angle at the shoulder, a right angle at the hips. Your spine is in its natural curves. Lift the back of the head and neck up, keep the chin tucked in. First rhyme of class. We're just going to start by squeezing those knees together. Not really doing anything else, just squeezing the knees together. Hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. And again, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So rotating the thigh bones in a little bit towards each other and relaxing. 2 more, if you can, curl your toes under, lift your knees off, which is going to be much harder, and hold it here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower the knees, relax. 1 more. Squeezing those knees together. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax, and perfect. Okay, that was working on those inside thighs a little bit, our adductors, which we're going to use for the deep core 3-in-1 movement. Let's keep the knees and the feet together now. Let's take a very strong pelvic tilt, initiated by that pelvic floor and also pulling that lower belly towards the spine. But remember that this time we're going to change, we want to change the shape of the lower back. So this is our Garuda press-ups. So we're tucking the pelvis under, really scooping that tummy, allowing the upper back to relax, to round a little bit, but not going too crazy with that upper back thoracic curve. Stay really scooped. Take the hips back towards the heels. Keep the hips lifted off of the heels. Unravel yourself as you come forward, so you're back into a neutral spine. Take those shoulders past your fingertips. Tuck your elbows in, nose to the floor if it's as big as mine, and then you're straightening the arms to go again. Tuck the pelvis under. This is your breath out. Focus on the lower back, the pelvic tilt more than the upper back. Not going too far back. Unravel. It should feel quite nice. Continue to flow forwards. Not fall forwards, flow forwards. Those elbows should tuck into your ribs and the side of your body. 2 more. Tucking under, reaching back. Really scoop that tummy. Let that pelvis release to neutral, which brings the head back to neutral. Tuck those elbows in. You might not be going all the way down to the floor, but it's absolutely fine. Make sure that those elbows don't go anywhere near the floor. Last one, stretching back. Keep the neck nice and long. Unraveling, rolling through, tucking the elbows in, straightening. And let's leave that there. Fantastic. Coming into our Garuda big shoulder clocks. I'm going to face this way. Again, I'm just looking for flow here before we get into the tighter stuff, if you like. So I'm going to face this way, away from the camera. Arms are going out to the side, crossing my right leg over my left. Hopefully you can see what I'm up to. Just going to let those knees and legs roll from side to side. Especially noticing when your legs, if you've got the right leg on top, when your legs go to the left, feel that right shoulder blade lifting off of the mat. Try and stretch the right arm away a little bit to get the legs to come back into the centre. So this is as relaxed as possible. Let the rib cage, let the shoulder blade at the back come off, push away. I'm pushing down a little bit on my left arm as well. And then we're going to roll all the way over to the side. Just watch me for the first one, especially if you haven't done this before. So we're rolling all the way onto our left side. I'm going to start to draw the clock face with my right arm and my right hand. I'm rolling completely onto my side. The arm is really relaxed. It trails along the floor. It goes over my hip. I reach forwards past my other hand. At this point, turn and see if you can look over your left shoulder behind you. You won't be able to, but see if you can just keep that head lifted. As the arm circles round, it comes up above your head. At this point, look into the palm of the hand. When that arm goes past, allow the head to relax down. This is a wonderful stretch at the front of the shoulders. And then again, as that arm stretches out, you're going to bring the legs back to the centre. Here we go. Let's do 2 times this direction, all the way over to the left. Relax. Roll completely onto your left side. Turn and look over your left shoulder. My hand is going over my hip. It makes contact with the floor as soon as possible. I'm looking into the palm of my hand as it gets to 12 o'clock. When that arm goes past, I'm letting my head drop down, and this is where the magic happens, just as that arm comes back to centre. Allow your legs to roll a little bit the other way if that feels right. Let's do 2 more. Reaching, circling, breathing, back into the middle. 1 more in this direction, all the way over. See how relaxed you can be. There are certain points where you need to have a little bit of muscle activation, but work out where those are. Swap over the legs. Cross the left leg on top of the right. Again, when those legs go to the right hand side, the stretch is going to be stronger. The pull on your torso is going to be greater. Doesn't feel anywhere near the same. I'm some reason working my way down the mat. So when the legs go over to the right, that left shoulder blade and shoulder, whole shoulder actually will come off the floor slightly. Reach that, try and push the shoulder blade at the back into the mat. Let your legs swing a little bit the other way. One more of those. As relaxed as you can be, but trying to connect with that, your obliques and down the side seam of your torso. Now let's roll all the way over onto your right side. As soon as you start to move the legs, start to trail the left hand now. Lying completely on your right side, reach the arm past, look over your right shoulder. Look up to meet your hand when it reaches 12 o'clock. Keep the arm nice and long. When that hand goes past, rest your head down. Let your arm and therefore your legs finish off the movement. Go a little bit to the left, over to the right again. Sweep the arm round. Keep it nice and relaxed. Look over your right shoulder. Look up when the arm is at the top. Thank you, Dexter. Thank you. I know, good boy. One more, all the way over to the right. Looking over that right shoulder, looking up. Find a new stretch each time you do this. Find a new little corner of your body that hasn't been affected by that. Well done. Rolling over onto your sides. I hope that all made sense. I hope you were able to follow that really well. So that was our Garuda big shoulder clocks, as I call it. We're going to look at that, activating that deep core now. I'm going to go slightly over to the side. So that last one plays havoc with your clothes and your hair. Good job, I'm not too precious about these things. Okay, so let's come and lie down on our back. So just find your neutral spine. Find your base position. Notice whether your ribs at the back are they all in contact with the mat, or have you only really got your shoulder blades and your shoulders really in contact with the mat? So you've got a big curve basically from your lower back all the way up to your collarbone almost. Ideally, all of those ribs at the back, remember the lower ribs at the back are quite close to your waist, they should all just about be in contact. And then you've got this nice natural curve. Check out your own natural curve. Check out pubic bone and hip bones are on the same plane. We're going to just bring the knees together from this position. So I've started with feet and knees hip width apart. Bring the knees together, push the heels out a little bit. So you're pushing the heels out, you're going a little bit pigeon toe. Squeeze the knees together for all your worth. Hold it 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Let the knees come apart a little bit if you want to. Go again. So this is the subtle part of class. You won't really see me moving much, but I promise you I'm working really quite hard. I'm working hard, as I said, I'm already a little bit tired today, but I'm working so hard in those adductors, inside thighs, that it's quivering a little bit because they're already getting quite fatigued. All we're doing here is pushing those knees together, trying to activate inside thighs. Hopefully you won't notice anywhere else, but if you do, just observe, find out what's going on in your body, relaxing after a few. I also notice when I start to squeeze, my pelvic floor sort of wakes up a little bit. It's like it's a dimmer switch. You've just clicked it on. It's not lifting or activating any more than that, but there's a little bit of a recognition that we're working all these deep intrinsic muscles around the centre. All very important. Great. That was squeezing the knees in. Keep the legs in the same position. Now let's lift pelvic floor. So start by tightening around the back passage. Draw the contraction forwards from your back passage. Well, yeah, forwards if you were standing, but up. It's actually up to the ceiling, up towards your pubic bone. When you reach the centre of your body, you're going to lift that drawstring bag. You're going to gather it up towards your head. It's travelling along your spine. I'm lifting all those muscles in and up. I'm trying to hold them, and then I'm relaxing the drawstring. Just check with your hands. Did you change the shape of your lower back when you did that pelvic floor lift? Did your lower back tuck under? Did your pubic bone end up higher than your hip bones? Hopefully not. We don't want any change in movement in the pelvis. Did you maybe lift into the ribs a little bit? Did you flare the ribs at the front where you're thinking, oh, need to scoop? Were you holding your breath? There's another one. So start by tightening around the back passage, draw everything into the middle, go up towards your head, but that's actually along the spine in this position where we're lying. Notice whether your buttocks are joining in. Ideally, buttocks shouldn't be joining in. It might be a habit of yours, but they shouldn't be getting involved at all here. There isn't really any change in that abdominal wall at all. So keep the analogy of when we're doing pelvic floor, you're lifting up with that drawstring bag, and I sort of feel like it's coming up here, just underneath where your ribs part in the centre of your body. Then the last one is just the drawing the lower belly between your belly button and your pubic bone, drawing that down towards the floor, so strongly back towards your spine, but without any physical change. If you were physically in class, I might see a little drawing down, but the big difference here is this should feel like you're tightening across your hips. So like you're tightening up, you're turning it into a drum. And yes, your pelvic floor might get involved a little bit as well. Again, it'll switch on a little bit. But this is quite different to the drawstring bag analogy. So we're going vertically. The pelvic floor is going horizontally. We're going vertically back towards the spine to get a sense of a stretching across your torso, like it's a drum from hip to hip. And just holding that a little bit and then letting it relax. And again, no change in the pelvis, no change in anything else. Okay, last thing here. We're going to do those three things. We're going to switch them on, hold them for a count of 5 3 times. Here we go. Squeeze the knees together. Lift pelvic floor internally. Last one, draw the lower belly back towards the spine. Hold it for 5 4 3 2 1. Relax everything. And again, I can feel my right shoulder for some reason twitching when I'm doing this. Not quite sure why that is. So squeeze the knees, lift the pelvic floor all the way towards your head, drawstring bag gathered up underneath those ribs. Create the snare drum across your torso. Hold it 5 4 3 2 1 and relax. One more. Maybe you're getting a little bit of quivering now. If you're getting quivering, that's good. It means we're working the muscles, we're fatiguing them, which is great. We're activating the right muscles. Squeeze the knees together. Really push those knees together. Activate inside thighs. Pelvic floor, lifting in and up. Gather up all those muscles at the pelvic floor. It's like a hammock, it's like a trampoline. Gather them up, draw them up to the drawstring bag. Then, last part is lower belly towards the spine. That's the supple part, the most supple part. It's also the hardest, but just check that there's no change. Holding it 5 4 3 2 1. Talking way too much as always, Mandy. Great, okay, so that should have given you a nice deep core workout. Brilliant. We are going to go for some abdominals. We're going to have our legs, feet and knees hip width apart. We're going to have one arm out on the floor. We are same side, one hand behind head, add knee fold, add leg slide. Yeah, so we're taking our obliques now, unfortunately. So hand on the floor at a sort of 15 degree, 45 degree angle if that's 90 degrees to your body. We're just coming up, let's take 5. We're rolling across that shoulder, we're lowering. Pelvis is staying really nice and level. The back hip will want to join in with this movement. One more. 5, be very conscious that your pelvis stays level, your feet stay equally weighted. Adding on to this, staying on the same side, we're taking a knee fold. So now we're reaching up to the opposite knee, reaching up to where the ceiling and the wall meet, the corner of your room. My studio is quite square, so I can really think about lifting up towards that corner. I think there's one more. We're going to add on to this, knee fold, abdominal curl, leg slide, same time, and swapping, knee fold, abdominal curl, leg slide. Hopefully that work we've just done in your deep abdominals, the lower deep abdominals all around the pelvic floor should mean that that pelvis is feeling quite stable. Let's take one more of these. Knee fold, leg slide, leg extension, reach up if you can. Put the hand back at the back of the head. Knee fold, leg slide, reaching up. 3, 2 more. Extend and lift. All the way back down. Last one. And good job. On the other side. Pelvis staying really level, just reaching up towards the corner. Get your obliques moving. Think of those muscles that are knitted, your internal and your external obliques working towards, sort of against each other if you like a plait. Not sure how many that is, maybe one more. I'm so rubbish at counting, it's only 5. Here we go, we're adding a knee fold. This is a challenge to keep your lower back in neutral, not to draw that knee in too far. No hinging at the hip. Not allowing that knee to drop, the hip on that side to drop. I think that's 5. We're adding on, we're going knee fold, opposite elbow to knees, leg slide, and lower. And lowering. Reaching up, so my head is nice and heavy in my hands. Even though we're repeatedly going to the same side, my neck is feeling okay. It's quite relaxed. I've got my hands spread, I'm reaching, and not till this last one, grand finale, knee fold, leg slide, leg extend, release and reach up. Get that little bit of extra twist on the shoulders. 3. It's funny how I can always count the last one because I don't want to do too many. 4. Last one. And 5. And, oh, good job. Whatever you feel like doing, maybe have those knees in, maybe have a little roll around on that lower back. Maybe just let the legs roll from side to side. Maybe stretch the legs out, stretch the arms away. Whatever you do, take a nice deep breath. And let's have a look at what else we have. Side lying, leg sweeps. Okay, lying on our side. Let's lie on the side in a fairly straight line. Or to start with, lie on your side in a straight line and then just angle the legs forward. So I've lined my back up with the back edge of the mat, then I've angled my legs forwards, pushing the underneath leg down, making sure that my torso is connected. My ribs and my waist are fully lifted from the mat. Lifting that leg up, sweeping it back so it's in your straight line. And then we're going to flex and point to come forwards. Sorry, flex the foot and then point the foot to go back. Flex with 2 pulses forwards. No change in that pelvis. Flex and pulse, point to sweep back. Use your spare hand to check out what's going on with that pelvis. That lower back should not change. Breathing wise, take a sniffy breath in and a breath out to sweep all the way back. I'm pushing down on my underneath leg, little toe side, just to help me stabilise. Pelvis is staying secure, torso is staying secure, there's no change. Brilliant. Leave that leg back, bend the underneath leg, sit yourself up into this on the walk position. Like I'm going to call this, I call this the croissant stretch. We're going to reach round. In fact, we're going to come down on this elbow. So the elbow is underneath your shoulder. We're going to sweep this top arm around and reach and look to the back corner and turn your head. I'm on my right elbow, I'm turning my head over my right shoulder and I can just about see my toes of my left foot. I'm going to sweep, I'm going to keep that leg really bent and open up the front of the hip and push that leg back. I call this the croissant stretch. And then we're going to look underneath that arm and then lower. Underneath the arm and lower the shoulders. So they're parallel to the floor, now they're vertical to the floor. Or they're horizontal, my shoulders, as I'm talking about now, are all vertical. And sweeping round and down, swinging round to the other side, all on the other side, hurrah. So spine lined up with the back edge of the mat, or whole body lined up with the back edge of the mat, and then just angle the legs forwards, creates this nice bit of stability in the pelvis. Lifting that top leg up, pushing the little toe side of the underneath leg down, sweeping the leg back. Check. Waist. My waist is lifted. All of my ribs are lifted as well. It's only my sort of shoulder blade edge of my ribs are just about in contact. Then we're flexing to come forwards with a sniffy breath in, 2 pulses, and a squeeze back as you breathe out. Not allowing pelvis, torso, spine, same sort of thing really, but not allowing any of that to change. Drawing, keeping this top shoulder drawn down, keeping that waist lifted. It's very easy to let everything collapse. If this is it looks like I'm going too far forwards for you and you find your lower back rounding, just go to wherever you can control it. Keep that foot flexed so you get the stretch through the calf, pointing the foot, activate the buttocks on the way back. One more. Brilliant. Bending both knees, sitting yourself up. And then we're coming down onto this underneath shoulder. I mean, wardrobe malfunctions everywhere today. Elbow underneath your shoulder, and then this underneath side really lifted. Sweeping the arm round and across your front to look behind you. This side already feels a little bit tighter for me. I'm on my left elbow, therefore I'm looking over my left shoulder behind me, and I can just about see my foot. Now I've moved it back. Now I've moved that thigh back. I've opened up the front of the thigh that's behind you. Ooh, that's why I call this the croissant stretch. It's like you've created a croissant shape as seen from above. And then we're going to lift that front shoulder so that we're looking underneath the arm, and then drop the shoulder down, try and reach round a little bit more. Lift and drop down and reach round. One more. Lifting, drop down and reach round. Have a little sweep around there. Wonderful. Let's finish off on all fours with some chest sways if you can. So toes are together, knees are really nice and wide, hands are wide. This is what I call a chest sway. Taking the upper body from side to side, maybe turning your head from side to side. Remember today's class had those two almost opposite styles, if you like. One is very much flowing, stretching, go into the corners, go into the edges, and the other one was like hold everything really still and making it very subtle so that you're only using those deep, smaller muscles, to which point it looks like you're not doing anything at all. Let's walk the hands around towards the camera. Stay there. Take a little back pop, so lifting and lowering the upper back. Walking round to the other side. Keep your legs where they are. This should give you a very strong stretch down the side seam of your back. Breathing, noticing how that feels, maybe a little bit of rotation on the shoulders. Let's thread the needle through, hold it there. Can you rest your head down? Can you have a little roll over that shoulder? Maybe the other way. If you find one side is significantly tighter than the other, go back to it or stay there and stretch there for a little bit longer. As always, I'm going to finish off curling my toes under, lifting my hips up, pushing back for a beautiful downward dog, and then bending one knee. I'm going to walk my feet in towards each other, pushing that heel down, getting the stretch in my calf and my Achilles, which is my weaker area, but it's got so much better, especially since I always try and, when I'm nice and warm, apply this stretch, do this stretch so that I know I'm working on those areas. Whew, well done. Great job. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you found the difference and I hope you noticed some activation in that deep core. Please let me know in the comments and I look forward to seeing you again next time.